And we're back, and we've got a caller, Lynette. We missed you last time. Welcome to the show. What can we do for you?
It's nice to talk to you. I just tuned in to you, and I was listening to this gentleman and what he's been through, and our family has kind of been through the same thing with the police department, animal control, and now I've had it with the planning committee and the commissioners. And with my son, the first time with them is that they accused him of being at Walmart and raping and pillaging the women, and he turned around and got arrested. And they said they had a picture of him, and I asked for the picture, and they told me they couldn't show it to me. And then when I found out what it was just a black arm with a shirt sleeve, and they wanted to put him in front for this lady that he wasn't even at Walmart. I proved it to him. They wanted to put him in front so this lady could see him with 9 white boys and 1 black boy. And I'm a white woman with 3 black children, and when we would go to Walmart, this is when he was 11, he would follow me in the car, and I had to wonder if that was what they were looking at, that he was following me, thinking it was him. And then we kept getting pulled over all the time, wanting to know where we were going and what we were doing, and we couldn't understand why. They wanted to know where we were going to and where we were coming from. And then they came to my house because my son had an emergency problem, and that I was not at home at the time. And the one cop came in my house, and they proceeded, because they couldn't tell if my son was a boy or a girl because he's going through puberty. They turned around, and they came into my house and went through it, and started tearing the place apart because they thought he'd murdered a girl here in the house, and they were trying to figure out where the body was. And so they got animal control involved with my dogs, and they turned around, and when I said to them, you can just lock the house up and leave, they proceeded to tell me that I needed to shut my mouth and care about my son than worrying about what they're doing in my house. And I'm like, excuse me, but you don't have a warrant to go through my home. And when I came home, my sister came in. She said I had to clean up. It was a mess. I said, no, we should have taken pictures to prove what they did. And then I went to go get my fancier's license, or not fancier's, it's here, a tier license for my dogs. And they sat there and they denied me just on the basis of my neighbors lying. And so-called animal control, the person that works there, had me down for lies about how many times she was at my house and everything else. And I've just gone through nothing but hell. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Since we've lived here. And it's amazing that they pick out a few and they don't stop. They harass them until they're driven them in the ground.
There's an old saying that the people should not be afraid of their government. The government should be afraid of its people.
Exactly.
And I don't think it should be. I don't think either should fear the other. I mean, we're fed this thing that I fell for. That's why I got in the Navy and stayed in the Navy. We got this concept of a nation. And they're trying to get rid of that concept in this New World Order thing. I talked to Tom today, and it really stands out to me, the politicians that are running for president, how seldom they ever use the word country or nation. It's homeland. In other words, they're going to get rid of all our mental ideas now at this stage of the game of us being proud of our country, of us being Americans, patriots. They're turning it around into, well, you're a radical if you're a patriot. And
exactly.
Forget this nation. How selfish of you to want to be a nation. It's insane.
Right. Now, and speaking of what you were talking about, the one New World Order, the one world government, I have some quotes here that I thought were interesting. I pulled these down off the web. These are direct quotes. To achieve world government, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, loyalty to family traditions, national patriotism, and religious dogmas. That's Brock Adams, director of the UN Health Organization. Next one. We are not going to achieve a new world order without paying for it in blood as well as words and money. Arthur Schlesinger Jr., CFR, Journal of Foreign Affairs, August 1975. Another one, a world government can intervene militarily in the internal affairs of any nation when it disapproves of their activities. That's Kofi Annan, UN Secretary General. And the worst one, or one of the worst, is today America should be outraged if UN troops enter Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated. That threatens our very existence. It is then all people of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing that every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will willingly be relinquished for the guarantee of the well-being granted them by the world government. That's Dr. Henry Kissinger at the Bilderberg Conference in France, 1991. And those are some of our world leaders that are they're the frontline puppets for the New World Order. And I encourage everyone, don't just sit in the dark, or don't believe what I have to say, don't believe what anybody else says. You know, make up your own minds, but do yourself a favor, read, study. If you don't like reading, then you know, go on YouTube. All this stuff is on YouTube, and all you have to be is selective, but don't be too selective, because it's better to hear 5 ninnies and 2 sages speak than just to listen to the ninnies or the 2 sages, because then you don't know how the other half lives.
And one step further, go to the courthouse, go up to the flagman and say, hey, what do I do? He'll walk you through it like he did me and so many others. In other words, get involved. Go to the regional planning committee meetings. Go to the commissioners' meetings. You'll be amazed at how few people go to any of this stuff. But yet we all want to come and bitch. Well, we definitely have something to bitch about, but unless we get involved, we aren't going to have a chance to change things.
That's like the people that complain when the politicians do things, but they're the first ones to admit they hadn't voted.
Yep.
So.
And there again, it's not just voting. Let's put pressure on these machines, hacking democracy, et cetera. Why can't we observe the vote counts? Why is everything done in secret? Right. Everything. It's not in the Constitution. All men will live under a secret cloud of wonderment of what's really going on. But if we don't demand it by coming out and getting involved, especially if you were run over by somebody in the system.
Years ago, the president of the United States wasn't voted for by popular vote. He still isn't.
Right. Electoral.
Okay. Yeah, it's electoral college, but senators weren't voted by the people either. Mm-hmm. It used to be way back in the 1800s that the individuals, people like you and I, we would vote for our congressman. The congressman would go to Washington and they would vote for the senators. And that way, you know, I like that idea, because people say, oh no, you're taking the vote away from the people. Well, yes and no. First of all, we don't know who's voting for them anyway. But when our elected representatives in this republic, not a democracy, vote for a person, at least you know who voted for them. We know who got them in there, and there's nothing to the imagination on vote rigging. So out in Florida, after the one election where they had the dimpled chads and the perforated chads, and did Bush really win? And then later, when it was Obama, it was like, you know, dead people voting for Obama. Illegal aliens voting multiple times for Obama. I mean, so it's you know, and then the Democrats are all upset that the Republicans insist on voter identification. Gee, why would you want to have to identify yourself to vote, especially if you're voting more than once, right?
Well, yeah, and there again, we tend to think if we elect someone or not, that's the end of the game. No, it's not. I don't care how bad the choice is that ends up getting elected, whether it be local or national. If we get in, the only way they're going to do what we need them to do is by getting involved after they're elected.
Right.
The war isn't over just because there was a horrible election result.
No, and sometimes it actually the act of the election sometimes makes it worse, because I remember when Bill Clinton, after he was elected the first time, he said that there was a mandate by the people to do all these liberal things, and it drove people nuts. And so what happened in the second year after that, at the midterm elections, people voted the Democrats out of office, and that's the first time that in recent history that the Republicans controlled Congress. And but it was because of the craziness that the president and his idiot followers were doing, is that it set people off and got them so polarized that they, that they had to protect. Most voters thought they had to protect America by giving the Republicans the vote against the president. And now, but Obama doesn't care, because he just does his executive orders. So whenever the Congress says, no, you can't do that, we've just eliminated that funding, he just does an executive order, which are technically constitutional, but actually it defies the Constitution, and they should be eliminated in their entirety. But I can't complain too hard about the Democrats doing it, because George Bush were also major contributors to the problem.
Absolutely. Lynette, are you still there? Okay, Lynette, I urge you, and I know my daughter has the same problem. She's got 3 kids. It's almost impossible for people working or raising a family to find time to go to courts or a regional planning commission or commissioner meetings or whatever, but you got to find time, or talk to the neighbors and have them go. In other words, let's start participating in our own government the way it was supposed to work. We can't be a democracy, or we can't be a free people unless we get involved.
We're not a democracy regardless.
Well, yeah, but well, that's a whole different story. We're supposedly fighting all these wars for democracy.
Right. And
We're not fighting them for freedom, which is the key word.
Right. Right. And as a matter of fact, most countries are republics. Even China is a republic, theoretically. But we are definitely not a democracy, and it's probably just as well, because democracy literally translates to rule by the mob.
But there again, I'd like to try something different.
We got to go take a break.